Hey everyone, what's up? My name's Alex, aka Ronder, coach of the Seattle Staraptors, here to bring you another Season 4 LSBA video. Today's video is going to be covering my Week 2 team building for my Week 2 matchup against another of my division rivals, Josh, coach of the Galapagos Garchomps. So just for some background going into this match, we're coming off a 1-0 for our season win-loss ratio. We got that narrow win, a 1-0 victory actually as well against Jacob, coach of the Port Angeles Tediourses last week. And so we're going to try and ride this high into our Week 2 match and claim another win if we can. Especially since Josh is another one of our division rivals, so every one of them that we can beat, and each time that we can beat them, greatly increases our chances of making the playoffs. So, also two things regarding last week in my last team preparation video. I'm going to try and improve on this one in a couple of ways. First of all, last week I tried doing a completely screen capture type video where I had just basically a screen capturing program going while I messed around and built my team and looked stuff up and whatever, but I realized after the fact that a lot of the little text in that video was impossible to read, so the video isn't actually that interesting to watch on the whole. And also, the video was too long, I felt. I don't feel like anybody actually wants to watch an hour and 12 minute or whatever it ended up being team building video. It's one thing if your battle ends up going that long, but for the team builder, I feel like it should be a little more concise. So I'm going to try and work on cutting the time down this week, as well as I'm going to do just another voice recording only style video, and use bigger visuals like I do for my draft analysis and such. So with that, let's get into it. So this matchup against Josh is quite a bit different than my matchup last week with Jacob, because whereas Jacob has kind of a balanced and slightly more defensive than offensive team, Josh's team is kind of similar to mine, that it's a very hyper-offensive team. That's the vast majority of his Pokemon are super heavy hitters, really fast Pokemon, a lot of glass cannons and that kind of stuff, and then he has some bulkier or like support type Pokemon. So really this is kind of like a mirror matchup as far as team styles go. So that means that we have to approach the team building process a lot differently. Last week I decided to bring both Como and Meloetta, my two defensive Pokemon, both to help tank some of Jacob's hits, but also to use support moves such as Taunt and Toxic, Perish Song. I mean, not a lot of these moves ended up actually getting used, but that was kind of the intent behind them. I felt that I could play a slightly slower game and play a little bit more defensively myself to try and stop some of Jacob's walls and just get around some of them. This week that's not going to work though. I don't have nearly defensive enough of a team to take hits from any of Josh's Pokemon essentially, which means that I have to play a super offensive game, and the real battle here, besides just Pokemon hitting each other, is going to be who can keep the offensive pressure up the best. Because when you're having a purely offensive fight like this, the person who can pressure their opponents better will end up being the winner. And actually, my team this week is really easy to build as a result. Unlike with Jacob's team, where I didn't really have a couple of Pokemon that handled a lot of his team really well, like basically pretty much everything on my roster showed up a few independent times. Against Josh, I really have a solid core of 5 attackers that I pretty much need to bring for this matchup, and then beyond that, picking my 6 support Pokemon is kind of the only real option that I have. But you'll see that as we run through his team, and I list off what I think can deal with his stuff. So let's get into that. First up, Josh's first Pokemon is Pheromosa, which is actually, by far, in my opinion, the biggest threat on Josh's team. It was recently banned to Ubers and OU, which our draft format, basically solidifies the tier list at the time that we do the draft, so changes after the fact don't count towards the season. And we also have our own tier list, so like, anybody could have voted to ban Pheromosa from our draft if they wanted to, but that didn't end up happening, so it's like not a big deal. But the problem with Pheromosa is that it's way faster than everything on my team, and it's also super strong as well. So dealing with Pheromosa is kind of an issue. It's the kind of Pokemon where if it's not running a Choice Scarf, then I can Choice Scarf something and outspeed it that way to easily take it out since it has such squishy defenses. But I can't assume that Josh isn't going to run Choice Scarf because he'll know that that'll make it faster than everything on my team. So I have to prep for it as if it is going to be using a Choice Scarf set. With that in mind, the only really reliable way for me to beat up Pheromosa is pretty much to use Priority. So the Pokemon that I've listed that can take on Pheromosa, kind of, are Breloom with Mach Punch, Weavile with Ice Shard, and Staraptor with Quick Attack. But the problem with all of those options is that their priority moves are only base 40. None of them are super effective. In fact, Mach Punch is actually resisted. So what that means is that in order to actually defeat Pheromosa, I need some sort of prior damage, about 40 to 50% worth of damage on Pheromosa before one of them can come in and kill Pheromosa. So one of my strategies there is I'm going to attempt to set up Stealth Rocks, and basically Pheromosa is neutral to Stealth Rock, so that means that every time it switches in on them it'll only take 12.5%, which isn't a lot, but if it switches in a handful of times, suddenly like Weavile I think could hit up to like 70% or something with Ice Shard. That gets pretty close, like close enough really. And Staraptor and Breloom can hit similarly in the like 40 to 70 range with their priorities as well. The other strategy that I can use though is Volcarona. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but I need one of my two fire types on this team no matter what, just for Scizor especially. That's the only effective way to kill Scizor is pretty much with a fire type attack. And so I was trying to choose between Charizard X and Volcarona just for which fire type I wanted to bring on this team, and Volcarona kind of made itself apparent as the obvious choice there. Because Volcarona actually resists both of Pheromosa's stabs, that's Bug resist fighting and Fire resist Bug. So it can actually take hits from Pheromosa relatively well. I was calculating using the All-Out Attacker Life Orb set that the Pokemon Damage Calculator recommends. And basically Pheromosa can do around 50% to it, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll quickly pull it up just to see, but like, basically, the worst damage that it can do, like, unless he choice bans it or something, but, low kick does 33 to 39%, so high jump kick would do somewhat more than that. Somehow I feel like, Josh is probably gonna run high jump kick, so let's see what that looks like. Jump kick does, okay. Wow, actually that looks a lot worse than I thought, but it's still okay. So high jump kick does an outright kill. It does 72 to 84%. That's assuming a life orb boost though. If it's not life orbed, then it only does 55 to 65%. So no matter what, so say he's life orbed, then every attack that Pheromosa does is doing chip damage to itself, and that's the chip damage that I need it to have so that my priority attackers can kill it. But if it's not life orbed and it's scarfed instead, then its high jump kick doesn't do as much, and all of its other moves do negligible damage as well. U-turn only does 29 to 35, and Ice Beam only does 13 to 15 rather. So as long as Volcarona is at high health, I can kind of switch it into like revenge kill Pheromosa in a way. But so priority, Stealth Rock, and Volcarona are the strategy there. And so I kind of looked at this matchup and laughed because it's kind of like you have to prep separately for Pheromosa and then for like everything else on his team. So the rest of the picks are not nearly as hard to deal with. Coming up second is Greninja, And it's worth noting that for our league, we voted to keep Protein Greninja banned, even though Protein Greninja is legal in OU currently. So the only abilities that I have to worry about are Torrent and Battle Bond. So if Josh brings Greninja, he's almost certainly going to be bringing Battle Bond, and so I'm assuming that he's going to be running the common spec set if it does show up. However, things that are really easy to deal with it are Breloom, who forces it to use Water Shuriken, which are resisted hits on Breloom, to damage it and avoid being knocked out with Mach Punch, so that's fantastic. That's even if it is Ash Greninja with choice specs. Water Shuriken only does like go. Water Shuriken does like 48 to 57%, which is a lot, but no matter what item I have, Mach Punch just outright kills, so I'm not worried at all about that matchup. And if he does end up being choice locked and is locked into any other move that's not Water Shuriken, that's an easy kill. Another option is that if he does get choice locked into not Water Shuriken, I'm going to be running Scarf Staraptor this week, so Scarf Staraptor can come in and hit it with literally anything and it'll fall over dead. Third up on his roster is Zygarde 10%, so the doggo form of Zygarde. So Pokemon that can kind of easily deal with that are Weavile, who just straight up OHKOs with Ice Shard. Again, it forces Zygarde to click Extreme Speed against it. It has to use its faster priority in order to outspeed Weavile and avoid just dying for free. But even if it's the common OU choice band set, Extreme Speed only does... computer, why are you melting? Extreme Speed does 55 to 65. So again, that's another thing where it's like Weavile has to be at over like 70% kind of in order to deal with it, but otherwise, no matter what it clicks, it can easily kill Zygarde. Especially if it gets locked into like 1000 arrows or something, then suddenly Ice Shard is just a freebie kill that's Zygarde either has to switch out or die, and if that's the kind of scenario we're in, we can click knock off instead, knock off something's item, or any plethora of options. Starmie is something that I'm pretty much locked into bringing, could kill it with Ice Beam if I end up running that. Breloom does a lot of damage against Zygarde, that's I think, again, Breloom, Technician Attacker with Life Orb. Does 74 to 87% with Mach Punch, so that's again any sort of chip damage kind of will take it out. Extreme Speed only does 50 to 60 back. So yeah, not too concerned about that. It has the 4 times weakness that I can easily take advantage of. Next up, Pokemon number 4 is Mega Venusaur. So Mega Venusaur would be scary if I didn't have Staraptor, so Staraptor is definitely like my go-to option for taking out Mega Venusaur. Volcarona, if it gets set up, can take it on because it raises its special defense as it raises its special attack. So even though Mega Venusaur isn't technically weak to fire, as you get some Quiver Dances up, it also just can't stand up to you either though. Fiery Dance will eventually start to hurt no matter what. Just for some verification about that though, we will look at Volcarona, Quiver Dance Sweeper. So Fiery Dance is already doing like 40% at base, so with any sort of Quiver Dances, that's a really solid option actually. Similarly, I'm pretty much bringing Starmie no matter what, but if I pack Psychic or Psyshock, Starmie could potentially come in and revenge kill Mega Venusaur. That said, Starmie can't 1v1 Venusaur though. Venusaur is too bulky and it'll just kill it with Giga Drain, but that's okay. Next up is Latias, which is one of his likely defog Pokemon. So, Weavile is an obvious thing that can just come in and knock off Latios and call it a day. Staraptor can revenge kill it, it does like up over 50%, I think it does closer to 70 or 80 with Brave Bird or Double Edge. And then Volcarona is a good one also with Bug Buzz. Latios is also something that I don't feel super safe setting up on with Volcarona, but it's definitely an option because again, with Quiver Dance you're getting those special defense boosts along with speed and special attack, so it can kinda sponge those special hits a little easier if it starts spewing those out. Next up is Thunderous T, so that's the Therian form that gets Volt Absorb, it's not the Prankster one. So options that I have there are Weavile with Stab Ice Punch or Icicle Crash, and Staraptor with Choice Scarf Double Edge. Mostly just because Thundy T only has like 101 base speed, so if it doesn't get an agility off, Staraptor can come in with Scarf and outspeed it. And Weavile, even if it is fast, can do a whole bunch with Ice Shard. Next up is Caesar, his other most likely defogger. Volcarona is my dedicated, like, switch in if Caesar's in and scare it out with Fiery Dance option. However, I've decided to use Azelf as my rock setter this time, because the other good option there was Jirachi kind of, just because Healing Wish is always nice, but Jirachi only gets Fire Punch for fire coverage, and Caesar is too physically bulky to be able to kill at all with Fire Punch. It's a 2-hit KO no matter how you cut it. Meanwhile, you can run max special attack Azelf with Flamethrower, so I don't even have to run Fire Blast because you can get rid of that % chance to miss. And basically, like, if I throw up rocks and taunt like his lead Pokemon and he switches in Caesar to blow away the rocks, you just blast it with a fire or flamethrower and suddenly it's dead, so that's pretty fantastic. Otherwise, I mean, Brave Bird is neutral on it, so Staraptor will do a lot to it, Mach Punch is neutral to it, Breloom can do a lot to it, and it's slow, so Breloom could potentially spore it as well. Next up is Celebi, who is very, very weak to a lot of my Pokemon. It's quad weak to Bug, so anything with U-turn like Azelf or Staraptor will do a bunch, Volcarona murders it, and then I'm also guaranteed bringing Weavile, who can knock it off for huge damage. His 9th pick is Moltres, who I don't think he's going to bring against me just because I don't have a particularly fire weak team. But if he does, I'm planning on aggressively trying to keep my Stealth Rocks up, which do 50% to it every time it switches in. And then really, any of my non-fire weak things, such as Staraptor, Starmie, or Weavile can come in and do a hefty chunk of damage to it. Pretty much I just don't want to leave Breloom or set up Azelf in on it. 10th pick is Hitmonlee, who he always runs Unburden. Like, he could not, and it wouldn't matter for my calcing purposes, but Josh always runs Unburden pretty much. He does the, like, fake out normal gem shenanigans, and then high jump kick and coverage moves. But one thing that I discovered fighting him last year when he had Hitmonlee is that unless he runs some janky, like, physically defensive set, which would sacrifice either speed or attack, Banded Breloom OHKOs it comfortably, Banded Mach Punch, so that's what I'm going to be running. Staraptor, if he switches out and loses the Unburden boost, is an easy one to kill, and Starmie with Psyshock can potentially come in and do a lot of damage. And then lastly, Terrakion is his 11th pick, and Terrakion's another Pokemon that Breloom can do a lot of work to, but barely misses out on the OHKO without some prior damage if it's not banded, but banded, Breloom should theoretically OHKO. And I'm just going to run this calc really quickly as well, but it shouldn't be an issue because I'm running Choice Band, and Mach Punch, and Adamant, and let's see. Okay, there it went. I was like, it was still showing only like 70 to 80%. I'm like, what? But that's because it still had Rocky MZ on. So yeah, Mach Punch does 109 minimum to Terrakion when banded. And again, that's Terrakion and Hitmonlee are both Pokemon that Josh had last season, and I had Breloom last season, so it's kind of useful fighting these same people with these same Pokemon just because you kind of know some of these matchups already. And the only reason that I'm fearing Terrakion is because it's another really good Choice Scarf Pokemon, and at base 108, it outspeeds pretty much all of my Pokemon. Even Staraptor Choice Scarf is only base 100. So that's kind of the gist of it. So now I'm going to hop into the team builder over here and kind of just throw my team together on Showdown really quickly. LSBA Week 2 versus Josh. Or I guess I'll do LSBA Week 2 versus Galapagos Garchomps. So no matter what, our lead Pokemon is going to be Azel. I'll leave the item blank for a moment. It only gets one ability. So Flamethrower I'm going to have on it. Stealth Rock is mandatory. I'm going to use U-Turn this week over Explosion because I want to be able to try and pivot Azelf out if I can and reset rocks up later, because Josh has a lot of hazard removal actually. He has 5 total Pokemon that can remove hazards. Pheromosa and Hitmonlee with Rapid Spin. He has Latias, Scizor, and technically Moltres with Defog. So like, I'm going to be trying to bait those Defog Pokemon in to kill them, but I want to be able to keep my rocks up because they're very important for my Pheromosa strategy. But so that's why I'm running U-Turn, is so that I can pivot out after I set rocks up the first time and try and come in later and set them up again. And the last move is Taunt, because in case he leads with something like Celebi, who I know likes to do a lot of wacky shenanigans setup-wise, or if he leads Terrakion potentially has rocks, or anything like that, I don't want any of it. So Taunt is basically also just to prevent him from setting rocks up against me, because I'm bringing Starmie this week. I didn't appreciate having rocks thrown up against me last week, so I'm bringing the Rapid Spin this time, but just like with safety like rules and construction and stuff, prevention is better than like trying to fix it later. If you can prevent an accident, then that's always better than having to bandage the wound after the fact, which is a janky analogy, but we're running with it. And then it's going to be a Timid Nature with max speed and max special attack, and 4 and 2 defense, I guess. Okay. So next up is, we will just go ahead and throw in Weavile. And Weavile will be running a standard Lorb kind of set with Ice Shard. I'm not sure about if I want to use Ice Punch or Icicle Crash yet. I'll leave the slot blank for a moment. And then it'll inevitably have a kind of extra move. Oh, you know, one thing that I was considering... Ooh, okay. There are 2 considerations to be made here. Somehow, since I never run it in standard play, I totally forgot that Weavile gets Fake Out, and that might actually be the key that I need to beat Pheromosa much easier. So let's see how this works. If I run Fake Out, I can do 40.9 to 48% with the Fake Out, and then 61 to 72% with Ice Shard. My job may have just been done for me, because I may not even have to rely on rocks. Like, I'm still going to bring them to try and bait some other Pokemon out, but... ooh, that is so convenient. The only thing that's sketchy about that is that I have Lorb, so I'm potentially getting worn down as well. But that might be the set to run. The only other consideration that I was making is that I'm considering bringing Brick Break because, like, typically I don't look at how well my team, like, tanks the other team's hits usually, but if I'm my opponent looking at my team and seeing all of the raw power that I have, I think that screens might be something that he might be interested in setting up. And again, it's something that Celebi, I think, gets screens. Latios for sure does. So I could either bring Brick Break, or I can bring a strong Stab Ice attack. So let me just check out what the advantage of bringing, like, Icicle Crash, for example, is. Say I get matched up against Mega Venusaur for some reason. Obviously that's not a good matchup for Weavile, but it could happen. Icicle Crash doesn't do enough to be notable. I think Knockout knocks Latios out easily, but let's check that really quick. Latios. Showdown usage. So yeah, knockoff is solid there. I don't need the stronger Stab Ice. Greninja's kind of a problem, but that's not a problem that having Stab Ice would solve. Let's check Celebi really quick. I think that knockoff, yeah, is still doing enough. Okay. Oh, I guess the last thing is Thunderous Tea. I want to make sure that Weavile can easily kill Thundy T if I need to. Thunderous T. The other thing is that I can always try and fit... Okay, and Thundy T is another thing where... A, if I have rocks out like I'm planning on, it's not even a problem, but otherwise, Fake Out does 24 to 28% and Ice Shard does 72 to 85, so that's pretty much in the range of killing. Alrighty, I have just talked myself into Brick Break for Weavile's last move. So Ice Shard, Knockoff, Fake Out, and Brick Break. And then a standard Fast Jolly set. Alrighty, next up is Breloom, who is going to be Choice Band with Technician. And he is going to have the moves Bullet Seed and Mach Punch. I'm really tempted to slap where is it? Where's Rock Tomb? I'm really tempted to slap Rock Tomb on just in case he does bring Moltres for some reason and I can get like a cheeky read on the switch in. And then, even though I'm banded, I think I'm going to run Spore anyways, just because Spore has the potential to be so good and useful. And again, that's something where if I can catch something on the switch with Sleep, that's borderline even better than catching them with a predicted, like, switch move. Because even though Breloom would have to switch out right away, that still gives me a semi-free switch into pretty much anything else. And then I'm going to be running Max Speed, Max Attack. I'm going to be running Adamant for maximum damage output. I kinda need to. And that's that. Next up is the lovely Staraptor, who's going to be Choice Scarf as usual, Reckless as usual, Brave Bird as usual, Double Edge as usual, U-Turn as usual. And then the last move is, I'm actually going to run Quick Attack this week. Because, again, you can never have too much priority in this kind of a matchup. And again, there's not a whole lot that fighting coverage with close combat would actually hit, so it's gotta be Quick Attack. And then Physical Scarf EVs, perfect. Next up is Volcarona. He was going to be kind of a regular, run-of-the-mill setup Quiver Dance set. I'm going to run Lefties as my item for the same reasons I explained last week, I like having leftovers on setup sweepers so that they can kind of sustain themselves better as they're setting up and sweeping. I know that Volcarona is the kind of Pokemon that also gets like Giga Drain, for example, but you don't always want to click that, and it's always nice to have HP coming back to you. I always run Fiery Dance over Fire Blast, both for the accuracy as well as for the additional special attack increases, and it doesn't even matter this week because Ditto's not here, so getting those increases is always a good thing 100% of the time. We're running Bug Buzz this week, again, so that we can hit his multiple bug weak Pokemon. And then lastly, you know, I was going to... Okay, so the considerations for the 4th move slot are pretty much between Giga Drain and like Psychic, I guess. Let's see how much Psychic does as opposed to one of its other moves against something like Mega Venusaur, for example. Because if it can like break through Venusaur pretty handily with Psychic, that's definitely a consideration. So we're going to run +0. Okay, where is Psychic? We need... Too bad it doesn't get Size Shock as well, but you can only ask so much. So it looks like Psychic doesn't really do that much to Mega Venusaur. My fire attacks do just about as much. Hitmonlee would be another Psychic. Yeah, so all of the things that Psychic is hitting super effectively, fire attacks do just about as well for me. So I'm going to run Giga Drain because I never not like having that extra healing whenever I can click it. So there are certain Pokemon like Terrakion or Greninja potentially that clicking Giga Drain would just be a good option. Then kind of a standard EV set. It suggests Modest. I always run Timid just because losing Speed Ties drives me crazy. And then last but certainly not least is Starmie. Whoops, I accidentally wrote Stammy. Starmie. And I'm going to run... I guess I'm going to run a Life Orb set. Let's see, does Josh have anything that wants to status me? Not really. So just in case, I'm going to actually run Analytic this week, because if he clicks any of his like priority moves and goes first, or he just has Pokemon that are naturally faster than me, Analytic is good for raising Starmie's power even more. A Natural Cure is nice when you're in matchups where the opponent has a lot of status potential, but that's not really the case here. Just a moment. Alright, I'm back, sorry about that. So where was I? Last but not least is Starmie. So, I'm Life Orb, Analytic, right, moveset. So no matter what, I need Rapid Spin because it's primarily acting as a spinner to keep all of my Stealth Rock weak Pokemon healthy should Josh choose to set up Stealth Rock. Then I pretty much just have to choose 3 attacks. So what are the most effective? Let's see, I'll go about this one of my favorite ways. So I'm just going to go down the list of Josh's Pokemon and basically just write down whichever move I would click against that Pokemon and decide that way. Whichever moves have the most tallies are the moves that I will use. So, first, Pheromosa, we would click some sort of Psychic Stab. So that's 1 point for Psychic. Greninja would want to be T-Bolt. So that's 1 strike for T-Bolt. Zygarde wants to be Ice Beam. So that's 1 point for Ice Beam. Mega Venusaur would be Psychic Stab. Latios would be Ice Beam. Thundurus T would be Ice Beam. Caesar would be Hydro Pump. Or Scald. It's some sort of Water Stab. Celebi would be Ice Beam, so Ice Beam's looking pretty good. Moltres would be Water Stab, but I could also do T-Bolt, so I'm going to strike both of those. Hitmonlee would be Psychic. And then Terrakion would be either Psychic or Water. So let's see, what was I hitting T-Bolt against? That was Greninja and kind of Starmie. So, in all, I'm definitely doing Psyshock, so I'm going Psyshock over Psychic because Hitmonlee. I will run Ice Beam for sure. Ice Beam had the most tallies out of anything, I think. I guess Ice Beam and Psychic kind of tied. And then I'm going to run Scald or Hydro Pump. You know, I don't really need the Water Stab to OHKO anything, I think. So I'm going to go with Scald for the accuracy. That's I don't want to be missing moves if I don't have to. Then it's going to be a fast special sweeper. Alright, so that is the team. Let's see, let me go through and figure out my nicknames. I don't know if I'll actually be able to nickname these all in game, but we can just keep it between us. So I've already picked out the music that I'm going to be using for this match. As you can kind of tell from this video, I'm going with the kind of Infiltration Day Persona 5 theme. So I'm going to be playing the main boss battle theme for him. So let's go with a Persona 5 themed team. Azelf can be Morgana. Weavile can be Yusuke. Breloom will be... Or actually, Weavile... You know, let's go with their thief names. So Weavile will be Fox. Breloom will be Queen. Azelf will be Mona. Staraptor will be... somebody. Staraptor could be... let's go Haru just for the heck of it. Go for big damage, and I don't want to name it. Or I guess that's actually what the heck is her thief name? She's the beautiful thief. She is something. Let's check this out really quick. Persona 5 Haru thief name. No, it's going to be something stupid. Noir. That's right. And that actually it works out with Staraptor, because Staraptor's kind of gray and black, so we will run with that. Noir. Full Corona will obviously be Lady On, and Starmie can be... let's see, actually Starmie kind of makes more sense with Psy attacks to be... Okay, so you know what, Starmie is actually going to be Noir. And Staraptor will be Skull for Irony, but it's going to be using strong physical attacks, so if you look past the electric part, that works. Alright, so I think we have our team set. So in real time, I'm doing the battle tomorrow, so I'm going to take the time after this video to quickly go and assemble my team. But I hope you guys look forward to my Week 2 match, and wish me luck. Thanks for watching, peace!